November 29th, 2017, and we have William Henry Wood here. I'm gonna call him Bill, because that's what I've known him as. And he's lived here his whole life, and he's gonna tell us his story. There you go, Bill.
As much as I can.
As much as you can. You can start at the very beginning if you like. That's a good place to start.
All right, yeah. I was born in a hospital in Grand Rapids, Grand Lodgett Hospital. At that time, I was on Wealthy Street. It was in a big house. And then where I went from there to Lowell, I have no idea. Nobody ever mentioned it. And then I do remember living in Grand Rapids, just off of Buchanan Street. And then we moved to Lowell. I was about 4 when we moved to Lowell. And we moved up over Larkins. What is now Larkins?
It was the cafe.
That has changed many times since. And that's where I lived till I was 9 years old. And then we moved to North Division, 409 North Division.
That's where you lived after you married me. You moved to Monroe Street.
Oh, okay.
904.
It's 904, Monroe
No.
Street.
You lived on the
See?
island.
Huh?
You lived on an island for a while.
That was told to me, but I don't remember really who it was that told me that we lived on the island in a tent.
Out in the Flat River here.
In
Yeah.
Grand River.
Yeah.
Grand.
Oh.
And my dad, for money, he clammed. He was clamming. There isn't very, very many clams now, but there was an awful lot of them then. And that's what he got his living. And then in the fall, he would always sneak over to the farmer that was there. They had all the corn growing, and we ate a lot of corn. So other than that, and then
The clams though, did they use them for the buttons? Is that?
yes, yeah, because it used to be
You
the
would sell
button
them to the
factory.
button factory.
Yeah,
Okay.
and that's where he got.
Did
Then
you
he got a job with the WPA in Grand Rapids. We moved to Grand Rapids just off of Buchanan. And lived there. I think my sister Winnie was born there. Don't remember where she was born, really, but I think it was there.
You were young?
Because I was 4,
Yeah.
and she was a year and a half younger than I was. So, and then the rest of the family was born upstairs up here. So
Larkins.
Over Larkins.
yeah,
Which
over
it was
there.
always a restaurant then downstairs?
Yep. Oh yeah. But we used to. They had Rotary downstairs.
Yeah.
And Winnie and I used to lay on the floor with our ear.
Listening.
Over the
to
registers,
the floor.
'cause that's
So
where they eat.
we could hear
You could
everything
hear-
that went on, yeah. And then most of the time we'd fallen asleep. And we had to be very, very quiet.
But you heard a lot of interesting things from the businessmen.
Yeah, it just, of course, most of those people, my dad knew,
Mhm.
and I was always introduced, and so my name got around Lowell quite
Early.
early. When we moved up to
Monroe.
on Monroe Street, he lived next door to a farmer. He had a farm with 40 acres. There was 12 to 14 cattle. Most generally 4 or 5 swine, pigs. He had 3 horses.
Is this where Atwood is now? The farm is
The
where
farm
Atwood,
is where Atwood is now.
Atwood is
yeah.
now, yeah.
and I was on that a long time. He taught me how to take care of animals, how to be on taking care of them while they're pitching the stuff on the carts and
Yeah,
one thing
yeah.
on the wagons.
That's unusual for a city boy to be
Yeah.
learning how to farm.
It was only about, I only had to be about 10 years old when
Yeah.
that happened. And then,
Go ahead.
I was just gonna ask, if you ever looked for arrowheads, I understand one of our Indian villages was also on that location years ago.
Arrowheads. Did you ever find any arrowheads?
never found anything over there, no. No, I was never around at, I was always in school by plow time, so, but I thought it was great that a kid 9, 10 years old learning. I'd never been on a farm before, learning how to handle a horse.
You enjoyed that, yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah, always. And taking care of the pigs and the chickens and cleaning the barn. And one day, I say I must have been 9 years old. Yeah, I had to been. And then I walked behind one of his horses. Well, the horse was an old Western horse that had been branded. And his name was Frank. And every time I walked in a building or went to walk behind him, I would always yell at him that I was going to be behind him. And then one day I walked behind him, and then there was somebody in alongside of him and one person in front of him. And that's the last I know for he didn't want to be branded again, so evidently
He was afraid.
So he just kicked. He didn't know who it was or
Right.
what it was,
Right.
but he was protecting himself.
Mhm.
And the wall, it was smart cement wall. It was up probably about 12 inches off the floor. And he knocked me up against that, broke my collarbone, kept on kicking the wall out,
Yeah.
the side of the wall, and they finally calmed down and I got out of there. Well, and I went to school with a brace around both arms.
Oh. It hurt
Sleep.
badly, I'm sure.
Tell me what the doctor.
Yeah, it hurt worse when they said it. 'Cause, they took the x-rays and one thing and another, and they had me sitting down there, and the doctor, I sat like this, and the doctor took a heavy yardstick there, right across my finger, and I straightened up, and he said, "Stay that way."
What doctor was this?
I don't remember, it was the one that was taking care of me in the hospital.
Yeah. Oh, in the hospital.
In the hospital, yeah, at that time.
Yeah. So it
So,
wasn't the local doctor, you'd gone to Grand Rapids then.
so he said, well, it's not really a bad, he said, so I'm gonna set it right here. He said, do you think you can take it? And just as he said that, he set it
He
back.
did it.
He did it, and I squawked, and he yelled, and that was it. That was all the pain I ever got from it.
Great.
But I had to go to school for, I don't know, 6, 8 weeks with that. It was, never got harassed for it, never,
No.
nothing like that. But everything went good for me for, when I was in school, except for when I went to the first grade. Then we had scarlet fever, and we had whooping coughs, and dad this and that, and so it went on and on and on, and so I only got 3 months of schooling that year, so I had to take it all over again. So that set me behind, but somewhat. I'm still here, so.
Well, you were born in 1931, so this was during the Depression then.
Yeah, that
You
was in
You
36.
started, 36 you started
Yeah.
school.
I started school in the old building, in the basement,
Mhm.
and that was kindergarten. And then in 36.
The basement of the old high school.
Of the old high school.
Yeah.
And then they opened a brand new one. And
The new elementary school that,
the new elementary school was just open, so I got changed over to
was that built by the DPW or?
I would imagine it was. I never
Seems like I've heard.
never
that.
dawned on me to ask or
Yeah,
find out.
Yeah,
So,
if it was built then, it probably
Yeah.
was, yeah.
all I knew it was a nice building, a great teacher.
And it's still there.
Miss Banks.
Yeah,
She was a real short lady, and she had real easy to get along with.
well, she must have been nice if you still remember her.
Oh, yeah, and
She married Gordon Johnson.
Oh, yes, she was a nice
Yeah.
lady, yeah.
yeah, she was. And when I went to the first grade, then I had, why did her name escape me? Bushnell.
Oh, she was the first grade teacher.
Yes, but now,
Everybody had her.
now the second year that I had, when I went for the full year,
Yeah,
she would, once or twice a week, she would stay after school and teach me how to read, how to do figures and
she tutored you
math.
privately then.
Math, yeah. She took her hour afterwards.
She was a good teacher, yeah.
Oh, she was a good teacher. She was
Strict.
she was a big lady, very big lady, and she it always tickled me that she wore men's shoes.
She did, yep. Orthopedic shoes.
Well, that year it was in the wintertime and it was cold, and I got up and went over to sharpen my pencil, and the pencil sharpener was always by one of the big windows. And I saw this car coming down through there, and I saw this man go out. And the next thing I knew, the man was up in the air and he come down. By the time he hit the ground, he was gone. His life was gone.
You saw that as a child.
I
Out the
saw that.
school window.
Yeah, it's still there.
He slipped or he just died?
No, he got hit by the car. The car hit him.
Oh, okay.
The
That's
car
why he
hit
went up
him,
in the
yeah,
air.
and that's why he went up in the air. And that one I never forgot. But then everything went good till I got to the third grade. Then I got to like a young lady that was there with us. I wrote her a note one day, and I gave it to her. And everybody wanted to know what I put on the note. And I said, nobody's business but hers and mine. And as far as I know, she never told anybody.
Mhm.
And I know I never told anybody. And so then they were going to take me out, beat me to ribbons. 4 or 5 of the guys.
Oh, your friends? Oh,
Oh, yeah,
supposed
my friends.
friends.
They were afterwards.
Yeah.
They were after. And then, so right after school, I went across the street, and they were all there waiting for me. And so there we are, the third graders were standing there, you know, with their fists all up and all ready to hit. And somebody said, hit him. Well, I'm standing there like this, and I look down, and there he is on his knees, and his blood is just running out of his nose out of his face, and I don't remember ever hitting him. To this day, I don't remember hitting him. But somebody run across the street and got the teacher. She was a lovely teacher. She was, I sometimes wondered where she parked her broom, but, but other than that, you know, and then she took me over to Gumser, superintendent, and he asked me what I wrote on the letter, and that's between her and I. He says, "You will tell me," and I said, "No." Still nobody's business but here. He said, "I'll give you till 9 o'clock tomorrow morning when you come in." He says, "If you don't tell me then, I'm going to take you down to the boiler room and use a razor strap on you." Oh, I seen razor straps. So I went home bawling. I went crying, sobbing, just scared every muscle of my body. And told Mom about it. And she said, "Don't talk to me." She said, "Go talk to your dad." So then I had to walk. Then I walked from there.
Which was
Clear
7
it up.
blocks up down the street, yeah.
He worked at Kellogg Vinegar Company. And I told him about it. He says, "Don't worry about it, Bill." He says, "Everything will be all right." So 9 o'clock in the morning, I went to his office, and there sat my older sister in there. For some reason, I don't know. To this day, I never did find out. So then my dad walked in and said, "I wanted to talk to Mr. Gumser." She said, "Mr. Gumser is very busy." She said, "You see his doors closed." He says, "It isn't going to be." And he opened the door and walked in. And he said, "Now you're going to be busy." And he asked him about it, and he said, "That is what I believe I told him." And he reached over, grabbed him by the shirt, and pulled him up out of his chair, set him on the desk, and said, "If you hit anything to my son, you will regret it for the rest of your life." And he turned around and walked away. Mr. Gumser took a look at me and took a look at my sister and says, "Okay, you may go to your classes." And that's the last I've ever heard of it.
And that probably took care of the whole family for you, didn't it?
Yeah, evidently.
Yeah, none of you children got into trouble.
Things change fast.
Yes.
But then I never had any more problems till in school. I always, to this day, I still figure that they did not teach me how to study, or my arithmetic, I knew my arithmetic, and I knew how to write, but I didn't know how to put the two together all the time. So to this day, I have an awful time studying. But then I got out, I graduated. And then that was when
What year did
later.
you graduate?
yeah,
What year?
what year? 50. But, and when I was, I don't know, about the 9th grade, Mr. Gumser came to me and asked me if I wanted to earn some money. And I said, "Well, yeah." So I would pick up the waste baskets, clean the waste baskets in all of the buildings, and take them out and set them afire and let them burn.
Well, that was fun.
Well, yeah, that was fun. And did that for, well, I got $8 a month for it,
Wow.
and $4 of that went to sometimes 6 of it,
Yeah.
sometimes 7 of it went to mother, because by that time my dad was already gone.
Okay,
Because he
Um,
passed away in 43.
he was young.
Yeah, he was on the reserve, fire department. And they got a call that one day, and it was, I believe it was on a Sunday, and they come across the railroad tracks right up here. And he said, call me, he says, I need a coat. He says, it's raining. And somebody said, yelled up and says, we haven't, they're all gone, George, they're all gone. And the driver said, don't worry about it, he's already gone. He died right on the railroad tracks right up there, so.
From a heart attack.
On the fire truck.
Yeah,
On the fire truck.
on the fire truck. But to this day, they will never admit that they lost any men,
Oh,
so.
and you know better.
I know better, yeah, but nobody believed me anyway.
Well, not fighting a fire.
Huh?
They've never lost anybody fighting a
He
fire.
never made it to the fire, right?
No.
Well,
Uh-uh.
yeah, it was a false alarm,
Oh,
and you were coming back from a fire, so he was still a fireman.
Right. how many children were there at that time?
There was 6 of us.
6.
It was my sister Ruth, myself, Weenie, Jim, Margie, and Ron.
Yeah.
And that was hard shoveling, but we made it. We made it through.
Well, you all turned out really well, I know.
Yeah.
I know all of you, yeah.
So after that, then any time I was working for somebody or doing something and they paid me, I always made sure that my mother got half of
Right.
what I took in.
You knew that she needed it, yeah.
She did work at AC Spark Plug for a while in Ionia.
Oh, and Ionia.
And then she got so that she couldn't handle a house and that too, so she had to quit. But things went on, and I finally graduated. I was on a football team. I went in 9th grade, going back a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah, on the football team.
Mhm.
And the second, used to play, I figured I was pretty good. And they went over to, we played the one game, and I'd run out as I was an end. I would run out and they throw me the ball once in a while, and this time I got it, and I had to jump for it. And as I was in the air, 3 of those fellows hit me, and all four of us went down. You know, I got up and walked away, and then I got to thinking about it. What would I have done? What would my mother have done?
If you'd have been her.
So I quit that.
Just out of respect, yeah,
Yeah,
for your family,
I
yeah.
had to. I just couldn't see myself making any money any place.
If you got her.
Yeah, if I got a broken back out of it, it put me in bad shape. So I played, they tried to get me into basketball, but I never could see running around in front of a bunch of people with
With your
these short
shorts on.
shorts on. And, but then I finally went through.
You worked at the theater.
Hmm?
You worked at the theater.
The theater.
Well, yeah, that come in when I was 19, so that was about my senior year.
It just opened then, or?
No,
No, it had been open.
No, it had been open, but the projectionist quit, and knew people out of Muskegon bought them.
Oh,
And so, my sister Winnie worked there. And
taking
she-
tickets or at the snack
Uh,
bar? Yeah.
Yeah, taking tickets, she would, more or less, ushers. And, so then I started with an usher. Then I would, they would take me up, show me what's going on with the projectors and one thing and another and how to do it. And for a month I had somebody with me all the time. I was doing the work.
You were
and
being
they-
trained, yeah.
Doing the training.
Uh-huh.
And
Go ahead, I'm turning off my phone.
and that lasted for about 2.5 years.
Was it the Evanses you worked for?
Evans, yeah. Yep, I used to, after school, every time they had a change, I would carry the reels coming,
Oh, yeah.
big, heavy cases. And I used to carry 2 of them up, go down, get the other 2. And once in a while, there would be 5 or 6 of them. And I would run them all through, getting them out ready, putting them in, and then I would take them out as the wheel dropped and told me that it was time to change. Then I would change, take the old one off, the one I just used, and put a new one on it. And then I got that one going, and then I'd go back over to this one to see that everything was all right again. And I was always doing something, working.
Did you have time to watch the movie?
Sometimes, yeah. But I never cared to watch
No.
movies.
Never,
No. I never cared to just sit there and watch movies.
no. Still don't?
Oh, yeah, well, there's a few times that she'll attest to it, that I'll fall asleep in during it. Yep.
That and the planetarium.
Uh-huh.
Takes a nap every time we go.
If it gets dark and you
Yeah.
sleep.
We go.
So that was kind of your first real job then, huh?
That was my first real job, yeah. And then I was having heart problems. I would do something and I'd get shocked. I mean, just like when somebody hit me with electric wire. And so I went to the doctor and he looked at me and checked me out. X-rayed me and everything else. And he says, I don't really see anything, but he says, you're going to have to cool what you're doing. He said, what are you doing? I said, well, I have 2 jobs. I said, I'm learning one and projectionist at it. And he said, one of them gotta go. He says, otherwise you're gonna go. So I had to quit there. And then I went into carpentry. And I worked carpentry the rest of my life.
Did you work for someone or you just did it yourself? Or?
No, I worked for a fellow that was next door. He needed some help, so I helped him. And it got so that I helped him got to know him and his family. And for, I don't know, it must have been 5, 6 years before I finally said, I can't handle this anymore because I'm not making any money. He had it all. I got nothing.
You were not,
So,
and you were doing a lot of the work.
so I
He was training you, yeah.
Yeah. And so, but I didn't learn. I learned how to make up blueprints, electric on the blueprints, and they had plumbing and heating and windows and the whole thing. We even done the plastering and the painting, and I learned all of that through him. So I didn't get very much money for it, but I did get the,
You got the skill.
yeah, the skill. Well, then I figured that it was time to get into something else so that I had some money to do some things with. So for a while I was on a bowling team for the Moose. I had joined the Moose when Dad got me in my
Most
second,
everybody joined the
my
Moose back
second,
then.
yeah, my second dad, my mother remarried Harry
Harry
Briggs.
Briggs, yeah.
And he got me into that, and so I got on a bowling team. And then I stayed on that for, I don't know, several years. And I was there, I worked for somebody and they'd sell out or they'd go do something else and I'd be out of a job, and there was a couple others that did the same thing, and he said, why don't you join the union, you won't get that. Well, I joined the union. But every so often they'd lay you off big to have the fights over,
Strike, yeah.
over the money.
Yeah.
But I was with them with the union till '92.
So you worked all over then?
Yeah, I worked all over. I worked in Lansing, I worked in Kalamazoo, I worked in Hart, Muskegon, Lowell, Ionia.
Were you with the crew then? Or-
Yeah, sometimes crews, sometimes alone.
Yeah.
And
Before that, you worked for Cornell's building houses.
yeah, that was before that. It was when they quit. They did a lot of, we did a lot of work on it. And then through the Cornell builders, that's before I joined the union. And
The Lowell Area Historical Museum is proud to sponsor community oral history interviews. The Lowell Area Historical Museum educates, enriches, and inspires our community and visitors through the preservation and presentation of Lowell area history. For reservations and more information, contact the Lowell Area Historical Museum at 616-897-7688.